Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today for this annual presentation, or at least announcement about the next year's budget ready to go. Before we get started, let me first acknowledge and really celebrate the hard work, the very informed leadership of the Budget and Finance Department for their tremendous work on this budget that we're presenting for 2019. I want to celebrate Budget Director Stephanie Adams and her entire Budget Management Office, and of course the very capable leadership of our Deputy Mayor and Chief Financial Officer, Brendan Hanlon, and their entire departments and divisions for their tremendous efforts and leadership. So will you join with me in celebrating their great efforts here? Today, I am proud to present my 2019 budget proposal for consideration by City Council and the people of Denver. I believe our progress as a city must be measured by the intangibles, by what changes lives and what builds people up, like access to opportunity, equity in our communities. As I said during the State of City address, I believe to my heart, to the very core, that is the true measure of a city on the rise. When we set out to create the budget for Denver's residents and neighborhoods, that's where we focused for 2019, expanding equity and access, improving affordability, preserving neighborhood character, culture, and community. This $1.46 billion proposal reflects the priorities and values of Denver's residents of equity, access to opportunity, affordability, and neighborhood preservation. In my State of City address this past summer, I outlined a new equity platform that will allow us to take a stronger role in connecting people to opportunity so no one is left behind. Next year, we will make strategic investments intended to fund key elements of the equity platform, particularly programs that will protect our people and neighborhoods and increase access to opportunity for all. Specifically, the creation of the new Neighborhood Equity and Stabilization Team, better known as NEST, and additional resource centers, and a $1.2 million investment in the Work Now program to recruit and train local workers for city construction projects. To help improve access, equity, and neighborhood preservation, my 2019 budget also includes a record $50 million for affordable housing, thanks in large part to the 2% increase in the city's retail marijuana sales tax, allowing for the creation or preservation of more than 6,000 new housing units over the next 5 years. In collaboration with City Council, we're expanding eligibility of the elderly and disabled property tax rebate program to now, for the very first time ever, cover low-income households with at least one child. A $14.7 million investment in homeless services and facilities, including a $4 million commitment to hire up to 10 peer navigators in our shelters and begin implementing recommendations for our new 3-year shelter strategic plan. And in 2019, 31%, or about $10 million, of the Affordable Housing Fund will be dedicated to support those experiencing homelessness. An additional $27 million for a total of $113 million for transportation and mobility efforts, including a bigger commitment to our bicycle and pedestrian networks. And it also funds to hire 68 new police officers and firefighters to keep Denver residents and neighborhoods safe. We're doing all of that and more while maintaining over 15% reserves, our savings account, and keeping our city's AAA bond rating alive. That says something. While managing an expanding city, while addressing the critical needs of our city, while bringing forward a new equity platform, the city has a solid financial structure with over $222 million in its savings account and maintaining its AAA bond rating. So I look forward to working with City Council as we begin the budget hearings later this month, with the final adoption set for November as always. So thank you. At this time, I'll bring up Chief Financial Officer and Deputy Mayor Brendan Hanlon.
Good morning. Can everybody hear me? Good morning. Brendan Hanlon, the city's Chief Financial Officer and Deputy Mayor. First, I want to thank Mayor Hancock and his senior team and the city agencies who worked very hard to put this budget together and create all of these ideas and concepts. I also wanted to thank Director Stephanie Adams in the Budget and Management Office, Laura Perry, Director of Capital Planning and Programming, and her team for their work on the Capital Improvement Program, for their hard work on the 2019 budget, and for their commitment to providing residents of Denver with a comprehensive, transparent budget document each year. I'm very pleased to report that the city's fiscal health remains strong. In fact, the top 3 credit rating agencies reaffirmed our AAA bond rating in advance of our issuance of our first tranche of debt for the Elevate Better Denver bond program earlier this year. All 3 rating agencies cited our strong, sound financial management practices. Specifically, S&P, whose ratings methodology specifically incorporates a financial management assessment score, said that we view the city's, Denver's, management as very strong and with strong financial policies and practices, which indicate financial practices are strong, well-embedded, and sustainable. Our credit rating agencies were also bolstered by the strong economy in Denver, as well as our strong performance and healthy reserve levels. As Chief Financial Officer, I'm very proud that our city has demonstrated a history of balancing our budget, maintaining strong reserves, keeping tight financial controls, and providing open and transparent financial reporting. These are some of the key reasons why we recovered from the recession faster than just about any other city in the United States. And this has been borne out in reports by the Pew Trust and other reporting agencies around our financial performance. As for the 2019 budget, approximately half of Denver's tax revenues come from sales and use tax, and we continue to see core sales and use tax revenue growth. As of August, that growth is around 7.4% year over year. That follows 6.29% growth in 2017 and 6.5% growth in 2016. Core sales and use tax collections are projected to grow by 5.5% in this year's budget. And this is a metric that we use to better understand the health of our economy, and it is an indicator that our economy remains strong. State forecasts point to growth, but show some possible signs of moderation. In fact, the Governor's Office of State Planning and Budgeting projected in June 6.3% growth in 2018 and 4.4% sales tax growth in 2019. Home values in Denver and the metro area continue to increase, and unemployment in Denver was 2.9% in July, compared to 3.9% annually. So we still see strong financial and economic growth in the city and county of Denver. We remain committed to ensuring that Denver's reserves stay at a level that will position us to weather any financial uncertainties that may occur in the future. The mayor's budget will allow us to maintain those healthy reserves at 15.2% and our strong credit ratings while meeting the needs of a growing, diverse city. The mayor's 2019 budget possesses smart investments that will allow us to directly meet the needs of pressing challenges like affordability, our housing market, traffic congestion, homelessness, equity, access to opportunity, and behavioral health. These challenges will all be met while also positioning Denver to preserve our high financial ratings, maintain healthy reserves, and focus on responsible growth. Thank you, and I'd like to turn it back over to the mayor for questions.
All right, we'll go ahead and open it up for questions. Let me thank all the agency leads who are here who did a tremendous job in helping to construct this year's budget and facilitate, I think, what is a pretty solid budget for Denver going forward in 2019. Questions?
Can you talk a little bit about why it's so important to increase funding for affordable housing?
Well, this is the commitment we've made this year in terms of our partnership with Denver Housing Authority. And we still know there's a critical need for affordable housing in our city. This is still a city where people are moving to. still a city that people want to remain in and raise their families. And as a city, by the way, as I said, that this is a very non-traditional area for municipalities, and that's why it's important for us to have a critical partnership with Denver Housing Authority. But it's also unprecedented demands that have been placed in our city with the need for affordable housing. And so unusual times and unusual circumstances have called for us as a city to do unusual things. And this unprecedented investment we're making in affordable housing is in lockstep with what is needed for us to try to meet the needs and the demands of the people who live in this city and who desire to live in our city. Absolutely. I'll let Brendan, but I'll tell you from an executive's point of view, the credit rating is important for one thing. One is because we are constantly in the markets. We carry debt as a city, as most cities do. And when your credit rating is negative or not as good, it costs you more. That credit costs you more money. And so it's important for us to maintain a strong credit rating so that we have a lower debt service in terms of interest points on the debt that we're carrying, and we can continue to facilitate the business of the city without being overburdened financially. Want to add anything else to that?
Sure. I would just say it's important to have a third-party validation of your fiscal health. People in my position in the budget office, we could represent our economic position. We could tell you about revenue growth. We could tell you about sustainable expenditure growth and making sure that that's done in a sustainable fashion. The rating agencies provide a third-party validation that makes sure that we are achieving that fiscal sustainability. So to the mayor's point, it does help manage the interest costs on our debt issuance, but it also is a validation that we are on the right path and that we're able to weather any sort of financial uncertainties in the future.
And I'll just add, tied to that, of course, keeping a strong and respectable savings account for a couple reasons. Obviously, we know just our history and our system, our economy is cyclical. And we need to make sure we're prepared to weather a slowdown or a downturn in economy. We are literally one terrorist incident away, one tweet away from destroying the momentum that we have seen as a city and as a nation. And we need to make sure that we're fit and ready to roll in the event that occurs. But two, it also ties into our credit rating. Those credit rating agencies also look at what we have set aside in the event that we have challenges as a city going forward, and so that our percent of savings also plays a critical role in their assessment of our fiscal health. Yes, sir.
Man, this is a great deal. You're facing social justice in the context of what we have in the past. What drove that for you, and is it kind of connected at all to your upcoming election campaign?
No, absolutely not. Actually, if you go and study all of my state of city addresses, you will see I've been talking about social justice and equity issues all along. I started talking about housing issues. I started talking about, no one should be left behind. Prosperity should not mean winners and losers in our city. What you are seeing reflected here is a more mature, wiser administration who recognizes that what Public Works does has as much to do with the health and well-being of children in this city as what Children's Affairs does or Denver Human Services does, that we all play a role. And so we are capitalizing on that web of opportunity in this city, and that there literally is a ladder of opportunity, but each and every one of our departments and agencies play a role, and what we're doing is connecting the dots. That's what maturity and wisdom has brought this administration. Any other questions? Thank you all. Congratulations.